Aloha, everyone. I was just reading something that I found rather exciting, and I wanted to share with you all. It's an article on this website. Let me scroll down here. This is the first time scientists have ever seen positrons being ejected from the sun, because it is the first time positrons have been ejected from the sun in this reality system. The sun is now ejecting positrons. A positron is the antiparticle of the particle electron. This means the sun is ejecting particles of its spiritual double. This puts a whole new outlook on being showered with CMEs, solar radiation, comets, etc. We now know that every time we are having particles falling from the sky into our atmosphere, they are actually antiparticles translating the particles into a new harmonic of spiritual quantum. Now, I have to say, wow, because this really, did I say really, fits with so much Thoth has told me and about the whole change we're going through, preparing us for the new Earth star experience. When I first read this, and there's more to it here, we'll get into more of it, but when I first read this, I thought, I wonder if this is what Thoth calls itons. The positron is an iton. But no, it can't be, because when I read it, my own interpretation that I was received from Thoth years ago on itons, it's not the same, but there is a connection, and this is what I went to Thoth about. So here's the definition on my website, given to me by Thoth, on itons, I-T-O-N-S. Particles of the supraatomic substance created by breaking atomic bonding to the orotron or half-light spiral. These particles act as seeds for the metatronic full-light consciousness in this reality system. One of the ways itons are created is during the lightning strikes in the Sephirothic tree. Atoms are converted into itons by metabolizing through a rhombic energy field stimulated by a change in etheric density. Itons are atoms that have been turned inside out. Once our physical atoms have the proper light mathematic encodings to itonize, we will be able to safely pass through the LP40 ascension, world ascension to the new Earth star reality. So there's definitely a connection. So I went to Thoth about this. My rendition of Thoth and the new Earth star experience. And so I went to Thoth about this, and I received that the positrons interfacing in our reality now with our electrons is setting up the energy space. Maybe I want to call it a matrix. It seems like we call everything a matrix these days, but it's a pretty good word for a lot of things. It's setting it up to be able to create an atonic field. And when this field starts activating is when the pyramidus radius matrix that I'm always speaking about, that gigantic matrix that now is, forming and creating more and more strength on the planet, that will incorporate all of the bridging elements to the new Earth star reality. That matrix will begin to receive directly the itonic field. That means our DNA will receive it. This is big news, because when that starts happening, our pure gem bodies are just going to accelerate like crazy. Thoth has shown me all along, well, since he told me about the pyramidus radius matrix, how that when we enter that matrix, we will not be of the same atomic substance entirely that we are now. I don't mean we're going to turn into octopuses or something. We're going to be people. We're going to be human beings, and we're going to look pretty much like we do now, but on the outside. But internally, there will be a major shift. And the only reason we'll continue to look like we do more or less on the outside is because that's the consensual reality we've created. You see, everything in our hologram is based on our consensual reality. And there is another video I saw lately. I'd really like to pull that up. But in it, a scientist was speaking about how each one of us is creating our own universe. And this really parallels what Thoth has told me in so many words. And that each one of us has a holographic universe. But they are so consensually bound that we're more or less seeing the same thing. Not entirely, but more or less, so that we can communicate it and like, oh, there's a red cap sitting on that chair. Yeah, I see a red cap too. You know, but nevertheless, there is a subtle difference in how we're perceiving it. Well, when we move into the Pyramidus radius via this positron bombardment now from the sun that is creating the field for the itons to be built, and the itons start activating in our planet, in our bodies, then we will be where Thoth has spoken about. We will be already transmuted into a different energy field. Enough so that even though we think we are the same person, at least at first, because that's what we're agreeing upon, we're going to start realizing that we're not seeing certain other people. And we are seeing things we've never seen before. We're experiencing things that should not be here, but they are. And we're not experiencing things that should be here, but they aren't. Now, I don't pretend to understand exactly how this is going to work, what a day in the life will be in that particular circumstance, but I know it's going to be amazing. It's not going to be terrible, you know, because those of us who are going to start experiencing that are going to be ready for it, at least ready enough that while we might be a little shaken by it, mostly we're going, oh yes, oh yes, oh, this is what we've been waiting for, you know, that moment. But those who are not ready for it are not going to be transferring their into the itonic field. It's not going to be connecting with them. It's not going to be working that way. And why are they not ready? Because they've told themselves they're not ready on some level of their consensual participation. You know, I don't know what else to say. It's just not there for them. And not because of any Godhead pointing a finger. It's up to them to make those changes. They can. They have it within them. We all have the Imstra molecule that Thoth speaks about, and that is the igniting molecule that allows all of this to happen in our being. We all have it. I mean, you know, everybody. But we have to make the choice to activate that, not through some, you know, yogic position or something, just through heart-centered consciousness, just saying like, hey, you know, this is where I want to be. Flaws and all, man, I'm in. This is where I want to be. Just take me, receive me, and we will be received. And we're getting a lot of support. A lot. Oh, wow, this is making me very emotional. I wasn't expecting that, but I'm just feeling it so strongly. And I'm feeling that it's so near, so close. And when I say close, you know, I don't know what that means. I can't put it in time, but the feeling is bringing it closer and closer into my experience. Maybe it's just a personal thing for me, that feeling. But I truly believe when I read something like this about the positrons, I know that it is starting to take place. Now I want to read to you from something that I wrote on the stages of the New Earth ascension process. Wrote this back, oh gosh, probably around the year 2000. This stage is called calibration of the midnight sun. As the Earth's etheric current rushes to greater levels, and the golden spark of Christic mind transforms all vibration and matter to match that acceleration, so the original blue hole overlaid with the Adonai Kodesh will begin to create high-frequency, rational fields of plasma around its core. Now, I'm not going to try to explain this Adonai Kodesh, but it's a supra dimensional mechanism, shall we say. This, in turn, will draw upon the solar shield of the sun, and the sun, in turn, will begin to create an opposing force field, resulting in an antimatter or midnight sun. This will be a sheath only, just above the surface of the solar orb. All the other planets in this solar system will experience a sensation of the Earth's LP40 process, but only Venus will move with Earth through the stargate. It must be understood that the living being of the planet Venus is already in a higher frequency than Earth's. This is why it appears dead to us in our reality. However, as a guardian to Earth, it cannot pass through the gate until we do. When our world transcends, so Venus will as well, simply from a different point of demarcation. Once on the other side of the stargate, Venus and Earth will become twin worlds existing in the same zone. Thus, when the midnight sun is born, both Venus and Earth will respond, while the other planets in the solar system will nourish the procedure with their stabilizing energies. The solar antimatter sheath, now remember, the positrons are antimatter. The solar antimatter sheath will cause dense cells of antimatter, called ballistema, to build up in the field. This print's so small it's hard for my eyes to read it. The inrushing forces of ultramatter from the blue hole will now be expanded to envelop the entire planet and will draw upon the ballistema like a magnet. This process is born of the supra-powerful attraction of opposites that will be occurring. Ultramatter is the same charge as is our matter, but of a much greater full-light vibration. Antimatter, which exists due to the very nature of its opposite universal charge, responds to matter by attraction, collision, and then annihilation. Oops, let me see if I got that right. Collision and then annihilation. But responds to into its interior. I'm not sure that doesn't sound quite right. Sorry about that. The lightning paths will subsequently cause the atmosphere of Earth to become charged with itons. There you are. There you are. See, I haven't read this in years, so as I'm reading this to you, I'm getting, oh, wow, yes, it fits. As the itons field builds, the regions of the Earth which I am given to call the Golden Teia allotments will begin to register their own specialized fields within it. The Golden Teia allotments are the land areas on the planet comprising a total of 20% of Earth's surface area, which will move through the 4444 Stargate with those humans who are prepared for ascension. The high-level vibrational fields which will begin to form in these regions will contain specific light codes which have already been embedded in the matter thereof that will react somewhat differently to the itonic overfield consuming the planetary ecosphere at that time than will other areas of the planet. These golden teia will begin to take physical form in the new atmosphere. Tetratrions are matter which is not within the golden teia regions. Let me read that again. Tetratrions are already beginning to form in the etheric within the golden teia areas of the Earth. At first, the atmosphere of the entire Earth will become itonic. Next, the matter forms within the golden tire will itinize, and in later stage, the matter which is not within the golden tire regions will also transfer into itonic substance. While all the matter of the earth will eventually itinize, that within the golden tire will undergo a much more accelerated process. The matter forms of the earth which are not going through the 4444 Stargate must itinize in order to release their nectar regions. That looks like a typo. As they will be preparing to separate from the rest of the planetary matrix. Anyway, you get the gist of it there. So this fits so perfectly, just so perfectly with the protons coming from the sun now. So now let's go back to this article that sparked me to get into all of this with you. To understand what a positron is, we need to know that every element has its opposite. Well, it goes into that. I will skip that a little bit because I think we all kind of understand that at this point. And this particular person is speaking, the teachings that were brought to Earth over the past 15 years by guardian races taught us that the universal reality that we have been living in is based on has been the reverse spin technology of locking us into this density. We have been involuting or coming down into density. We were taught that when we begin to our evolution and ascension out of this time-locked prison, there would be the electrons finally disappearing and being replaced with positrons. Now I'm going to just pause a moment because I know what Thoth would say about being locked into this prison. Now, I kind of, leaned in that direction for a long time, but Thoth kept pushing me back out again, and I kept going back in again. So, what can I say? I'm human. But he doesn't view it this way, and the lumens that he's working with don't view it this way. Everything is divine. We're not locked in a prison. We don't have as some are saying now, we have this field around the planet that the Anunnaki placed there to keep us here and all this. No. He doesn't agree with that. We create our own prisons, and in a sense, if we want to call it a prison, well, we created it. But he also sees this as part of a pathing that we chose to experience so that we could help liberate the entire universal spectrum from the energies that impacted the original thought form of creation. Okay, I know that's very pseudo, and I don't even understand what I said, but that's basically what he's talking about. So it's important, the bottom line is important never to see ourselves as victims, even victims of ourselves. And that's difficult, believe me. I know how difficult that is, but that's something we need to work on because that is what he keeps bringing me back to again and again. Okay, but I like what's being said here. I'm just talking about that one little part there. So let's continue with the article. If we did not have the massive influence of the teachings of the quantum physics brought to Earth by those who have been living in this cosmic reality for millions of years, our scientists would never had the glimpse of this reality, which has prepared them for realizing that there actually is such a thing as a positron. I totally agree with that. I learned about the positron from Ramtha, the Legacy Series DVD. He didn't use the word positron. This is just something that I deducted from doing further research into all of the subjects that he taught. Ramtha is a Lemurian from 35,000 years ago who works with Mu in Inner Earth and has been teaching the quantum realities that we are about to encounter since the 1970s. I can't say these words, I'm sorry. Sha'Maia-NEAAF has also been teaching this science for about 10 years, and she was also communicating with Mu. This is not about something that you will find exactly in the K-Latonic teachings. It is the meaning that I have deducted from doing further research. There were many other scientists involved in helping me figure this out, including my starry brother Zaruk from Series B and the Elohim of Hearing, as well as these scientists from the link above. It is glaringly obvious when I keep watching more and more of the YouTubes being put out by the scientists that they are getting closer and closer to what Ramtha was describing as our change into evolution and ascension. it is very obvious that in order for the inner Earth to turn into for the Earth to turn into inner Earth, where Mu and our other guardian races are waiting for us, we must go throughout this transition from particle to anti-particle shifting. We do not go to inner Earth by walking down some stairway. The idea of walking up the stairway to heaven, the clouded cities, is a metaphor for actually becoming less and less dense until the clouded cities and inner Earth and Earth all become the same place in our new reality. Well, I agree and disagree. First of all, for the most part, I agree. But we're not actually going into the inner Earth, according to what I'm receiving. We're going into the new Earth star consciousness. But it's really a moot point, because Thoth has stated repeatedly that all of this will be together. In other words, the inner Earth contains a central sonatoma, and that central sonatoma must be quickened, and we must move through it to go into the new Earth star state. So there you have it. It's really all one. So it's not something we need to pick apart, because this new Earth consciousness state reality, we're all going there together, and the inner Earth plays a huge role in that. The inner Earth dimension and its central sonatoma plays a huge role in all of this. Now, this individual said, I Googled positron and learned that scientists have been baffled about this idea of the positron since the 30s. There were 3 scientists that studied its existence. The conclusions indicated that if there were a positron, it would dissolve the hydrogen and the electron. Well, that matches exactly with what is required for us to return to the reality of H2O He3. The hydrogen must turn into helium, and the electron must turn into the positron. Now, this is totally new news to me, what I'm reading right here, but I just feel it. I really feel the truth of it. I mean, I'm getting a strong Thoth hit on this. Now, hydrogen, let me look at this for a moment. Okay, looking it up on the wiki, it says that the energetics and bonding of the hydrogen atom has played a key role in the development of quantum mechanics. So, if you will recall, those of you who have listened to it, in several of my recent videos, I've been speaking about what Thoth has been telling me concerning water on the planet, in other words, H2O, in the oceans, in the rivers, in the seas, in the underworld, inner Earth, in our bodies, and how the water is the transforming element for this whole procedure that we're going through now. And what happened with the water, what's going to happen with the water, all of this has been on some of my other videos. Not in great detail, but, here and there I've been speaking about it. So I went to this page about what is H2O, because I don't really know. And this print is so small, it's ridiculous, but I'm going to try to read just what I want to read to you here about it. It says, let me see where it is. Each water molecule is made of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen element. Thus, there are 2 H atoms and 1 zero. Or the atoms are joined by covalent bonding, meaning that they share electrons as opposed to ionic bonding, in which atoms completely transfer electrons. As you can see, I never took chemistry in high school. I barely took high school. On the right is an image of water's molecular structure. This little guy over here that's red and has the little 2 Mickey Mouse ears on the sides. Okay, so you see how it's all coming together. The positron field hitting the water of the Earth and what that is creating. And we also have these 3 star streams that have opened up, as I have been speaking about in my videos. And they're transferring to us what Thoth calls the mother's milk from the center of not just our universe, from the atosic universe, which is the neutral universe of the planet. I really, really want to get into that more with him, because I see a whole quantum science field opening up there, from my understanding anyway. As many of you know, since November I have been suffering from a great deal of nerve pain brought on by shingles, and the shingles keep attacking me, so the nerve pain keeps coming. And this is the reason I'm doing so many videos rather than in so little written work right now. I love doing the videos, but I would be doing much more writing at this time. This is just how it has to be right now while I'm going through this, and I do hope there's an end to it, but nevertheless, I'm putting out my information the best I can in this manner. Also quoting from past material that I can put out in written form because it's just cut and paste, and adding a few sentences to it here and there. So this is the way I'm working right now, and I'm just itching to get to typing because I would like to get very specific on some of these points, and it's a little more difficult for me to get specific when I'm speaking for some reason. Back to the article I was reading from just a little bit more. Nambu, I'm not sure who that is, discovered that positrons show a change in direction from past to future. That is the definition of evolution. We are finally moving from the past to the future. We are moving into a new future of grand possibilities. Dimitri, and I'm not going to pronounce that name, has shown us that positrons curved in the opposite direction, again showing that we have finally turned around and we are ascending back into the vast field of possibilities of our cosmos. Nambu later applied it to all production and annihilation, I can't say that word, of particle-antiparticle pairs, stating that the eventual creation and annihilation of pairs might occur now, and there is no creation or annihilation. Why can't I say that word? Sorry, I'm going to try to forget that one. But only a charge of direct or moving particles from past to future or future to past. Anderson showed that the positron to be antimatter, and that goes on how that was discovered. This is all a really interesting article. I will put the link to it with the video. Because it is extremely interesting. The sun also emits energized particles, neutrinos, protons, that make up the solar wind. This energy strikes Earth, where it warms the planet, drives our weather, and provides energy for life. We aren't harmed by most of the radiation or solar wind because of the Earth's atmosphere protecting us. And so, I believe I'm going to conclude this video here because I'm trying not to make them too long. Some of them have been, unfortunately. I couldn't divide them up very easily. But I will end this one. However, I have a lot more to say on this whole subject, so I'll be continuing to make videos on it. So for now, aloha to everyone.